Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. I tell you, I'm a little bit late. I apologize for that. But trying to get on here just as quick as I can. I hope everybody's doing tonight. I get all right tonight, and I get past by 30 seconds without getting too much of an eyeball on me for whatever kind of things they want to complain about, which they've added to the list. We'll talk about that. But these charges against Mr. T, as people read them, it is becoming obvious that, and it's not a dirty word, it's a acceptable word, asinine. You can look that up. It's been used for many years when somebody behaves in an asinine manner or says asinine things. And you could say that about just about all the charges that are come out against them. The only ones that don't realize that are the ones that are really lost in the three letters that begin with a T, end with an S, and has a D in the middle. So let's see who all's here. I tell you, I got, hey, Nikki, how you doing? Tennessee got in the house. Jamie, Mike, 1176, how you doing? Ian, Kim, love to garden, how you doing? Jamie, Sherry, Mary, Jersey Joe, how you? Debbie, how you doing? Hi, David. Nice to see you. And, I usually don't, if I don't see somebody's name in the chats, I don't mention them too much. But I know a lot of us have been wondering where Bubba has been. And we're hoping that he's okay. And if you're out there listening, Bubba, we're thinking about you. Just wanted to toss that out there. Yes, Nikki said, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and share. How you doing, Jax? Nice to see you. Thank you for coming tonight. So anyway, I started with a very nice meme there. You may want to grab a screenshot of. Today's mass media has not only created a population comfortable with their spoon-fed ignorance, but also hostile towards anyone who points it out. So that's a good way to get to everybody, but what we know from the word, we've read it many times, I've said it many times, they'll be given over to their own strong delusions. And that's what we're dealing with now, people that don't want to use reason. They don't want to use the gift that was given to them by God, discernment, and exercise their liberty in a responsible way. They get delusional, rationalize things. You know what I'm going to do since it's early in the broadcast? I'm going to play that, and you all tell me if it plays smooth. I'm going to give, I cranked the sound up a little bit on it. I'm going to try to play that one from Rudy Giuliani, where he calls out Jack Smith, and he also calls out Merrick Garland, not Merrick Garland specifically, but Merrick Garland's son-in-law. So tell me how this plays, folks, and see if you hear everything that Rudy is saying. Might as well get it out while I got a strong signal. Oh, by the way, I am multi-streaming on Bumble, so hopefully that won't interrupt anything or slow anything down.
Go ahead. Long ago, stopped being careful, and I don't worry about the Jack Smiths of this world. I have a chapter in my book called Stand Up to Bullies. So here's what I say to Jack Smith. After the Supreme Court threw out your case, which should have been a disgrace, and you should have gone and found another profession because you don't belong in this one. This one will be your legacy, violating the right of free speech of an American citizen. Never mind whether he was president or not. It could be anybody. It could be a homeless person. You don't get to violate people's First Amendment rights, Smith, no matter who the hell you are, or no matter how sick you are with Trump derangement syndrome. And this isn't the first time you've acted like an unethical lawyer. It should be the last.
What about his, I guess you call him his boss, maybe not his boss, but the guy who appointed him? What about
how about we start investigating his son-in-law? I say I want to investigate his son-in-law, who's making millions teaching kids how to change their gender, while the boss, I mean, it's all about money in the Biden administration. While the boss is condemning parents as terrorists, the son-in-law is making millions going around to public schools and teaching kids they should question their gender. Do you know that? They don't cover it. Our crooked press doesn't cover that.
I think I've covered that with you on the balance quite a few times.
I know we have. You and I have.
It's amazing.
But everybody covers it up.
And the thing.
This administration is filled with crooks.
Mr. Mayor.
Got through clear enough for you? Talking about Merrick Garland sicking people on the Catholic churches and religious people, all the while his son-in-law is trying to making millions of dollars getting kids to change their gender, right? Hi, Lone Wolf. Hi, honey. How you doing? Camperman, Cheryl. There's a hurricane coming to California, Wild West says. Uh-oh. It's named Hurricane. Named Hillary. Hi, Henri. How you doing? So, hopefully, well, I don't know. That sounds bad, Tennessee. Wild West, that sounds rough. Hi, Georgia. So, I'm just cruising through the chats. Yes, it is a disease, Jax. I have to interact with people. So, anyway, you saw Rudy bang down the papers, and I saw it was mentioned in chats, the mainstream media is saying that Rudy's broke and all this stuff. Well, I'm sure he can take care of himself. And you know what? He's got some pretty wealthy friends. So, and you know which one I'm talking about. Speaking of those hurricanes and fires, here's one that somebody posted about it as our country faces the deadliest, quote, wildfire in over 100 years, with nearly 100 dead, over 1,000 Americans still missing, and 2,200 structures lying in smoldering ruins. The government is sending another $200 million in weapons to Ukraine. Well, we'll be talking about that because there's reports coming out that the sirens were disabled, not working, that they cut water off when people were using their garden hoses, and having success in managing the flames. There's a lot of questions bubbling about that. And Mr. T is putting out some defense of himself for what's going on. And it's impressive. And Monday he has coming up, a report that he says is going to completely exonerate him. And I'm wondering if that is what Sidney Powell was talking about, that she was working on filing. That's a question mark, folks. So anyway, I should have put this in my title and my thumbnail. They tried to set up Trump. Well, we all know that. Everything's been a setup from day one. Every single thing they've done. But how about the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping? Have you all heard about that? What they found some text messages and things, and it's not too solid on that, but what's laying right out in front of us is the history of the thing. And a lot of you have been with me for a long time know I did a video about the lead FBI investigator on the Whitmer kidnapping, got arrested for felony strangulation of his wife. He tried to get her to go to a swingers party at some seedy hotel, and he beat her bloody in front of their children and took off drunk driving. And it's all on video. I did a video on it, and he got taken off the case. He was setting up those guys to do a kidnapping. And this report here, somebody cobbled together, will show you how they were trying to frame Trump so they could accuse him of inciting or participating in the kidnapping of Gretchen Whitmer. Check it out.
At one point, the president tweeted there was a need to liberate Michigan. His own FBI director recently testified to Congress that extreme white right-wing groups, white nationalists, pose the greatest threat to racially motivated domestic terrorism. We saw what happened today. The FBI arrested a group of militiamen who had a plan to go in and to kidnap the governor of Michigan. You see it in the news tonight.
Earlier today, Attorney General Dana Nessel was joined by officials from the Department of Justice and the FBI to announce state and federal charges against 13 members of 2 militia groups who are preparing to kidnap and possibly kill me.
Begin tonight with that alleged terror plot and the chilling plan.
Strange schemes like the one against Governor Whitmer that the FBI and local law enforcement uncovered and stopped last week. You know, it's the sort of behavior you might expect from ISIS. It's the sort of behavior you might expect from ISIS. The failure to condemn these folks is stunning.
And refused to condemn white supremacists and hate groups like these 2 Michigan militia groups.
We're grateful to the FBI and law enforcement to discover these domestic terrorists and stop them.
Thank you to the fearless FBI agents.
NBC News. A federal jury failed to convict 4 men accused of plotting to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
Paid FBI informants were also the ones to come up with the plan. The FBI and informants led the entire way with ideas, with training, and constant encouragement. Undercover FBI agents constantly contacted them and encouraged them to launch a violent attack. Informants coming up with plans and encouraging plans is illegal. One of the undercover informants told him to go with this plan to other groups in other states to attack other governors.
See what they were trying to do? They were trying to get a bunch of loose-brained knuckleheads to supposedly conspire to go get other governors and pin it on Trump. So we'll see how that comes along. I see, Jax, that you mentioned you use some of my stuff. You feel free, take some clips, put you some videos up on your channel. Anything that you can get out of my information, feel free to use it. I appreciate it. And I saw Gary mention in there about the sheriff, the conservatives alarmed after a report that current Maui police chief was incident commander during 2017 Las Vegas situation. And yeah, that's true. So that's all being dug into. And we got a lot of stuff being juggled around right now. That stuff that's going on in Hawaii, people putting 2 and 2 together, like this incident commander, the Whitmer kidnapping, appearing that it was a attempt at a setup. If they could get away with just smearing conservatives, that's good enough. But if they could get the cherry on top of the cake and tangle Mr. T up in it, that would have been even better for them. But what else we got going on in Michigan, don't forget. Hero Michigan police officer confirms that GBI Strategies is operating in numerous states. Michigan AG Nessel is forced to admit the group was caught with 8,000 to 10,000 fraudulent registrations, but they have proof that it was that many a day in some situations, and that they confiscated all those gift cards, weapons, drugs, and everything else you can think of. And they're going to tie a network together. You watch. So, yeah, as long as we don't get distracted or confused with all the different things that are happening, and we keep a level head, we move forward. But we also keep our antennas up. as far as what they're planning on doing. This is something I had in my quiver. Biden says, practically speaking, he has declared a national climate emergency. Well, people say, well, that's not a big deal. Yes, it is. If they start to exercise emergency powers with this finger pointing to climate change for everything that goes wrong, what can they do? They can restrict people's rights. And they can do it on an emergency basis. Look what they tried to make us do with the jabberdo, right? The thing you're supposed to put in your shoulder. And I had an interesting meme. I'll see if I can find it. Does regulation lead to confiscation? Let me see if I can find that. And we can see now that, yes, it does. Because what they've done in Hawaii is what they do in a lot of areas, especially if it has a high land value or waterfront or water access. They put all these so-called environmental restrictions. They tell the people who are already there, you're grandfathered in. Don't worry. But we're going to make sure that nothing else comes along that could cause global warming or whatever they come up with. People go, oh, okay, as long as it doesn't bother me. Well, something like this happens or is caused to happen. And guess what? They take away the grandfather clause and they run you out. And then they have all these celebrities and uber wealthy people waiting in the wings who can either get away with cutting corners on the onerous regulations or can afford to comply with them, whereas the average person could not. So this is USCCA put this up. I've never followed them, but I noticed this meme and I said, hey, I'm copying that. Does regulation lead to confiscation? You better believe it. They're getting into every little thing aspect of your life. I have an article somewhere in my studio where the Biden administration has reinstated this business where you cannot buy an incandescent light bulb. Remember when Mr. Trump was talking about how he got rid of those regulations where you went to a sink to wash your hands, so there wasn't enough water coming out to even get your hands washed or flush your toilet or clean your clothes. You cut on these curly-Q light bulbs that are full of poisonous gas, and it's crazy. It makes things more expensive, and now they're putting all that stuff back in, all in the name of people's safety and the environment and all that crap. So yes. I've got an article. Let me see if I can find that. Stuff you never thought that people would have to be aggravated with. Bureaucrats, you give them power and they'll aggravate your eyeballs out of your head. And it's worse than that. Here. I got two things I want to put in. Whoops. Let me see. I'll put this one in first. Here you go. Edmond mom faces fine for window units in her home. That's KFOR Oklahoma News if you care to watch it. It's only a 2-minute video. But you can guess what that's all about. Some stupid regulation aimed at saving the planet or whatever. They don't meet with some kind of local environmental BS. Who knows what their or homo association. We don't like seeing window units. You should have a split system like we have. Like everybody can afford that. So yes, regulations does lead to confiscation, if not outright confiscation of your property, confiscation of your rights. So anyway, I'll be plowing through some of those stories, but I had some of this stuff set up about this Obama situation where him and Trudeau are coming out, pretty much coming out of the closet. And I've had this in studio for a long time and didn't play it. And I got another clip too I'm going to play about Obama having a little slip of the tongue. But I'll play this one first.
Michael and I also want to acknowledge Michael and I.
I'm sure you remember that from Diamond and Silk. But here's one I found today. Where's that little clip? I found today where he was walking with a reporter, I think about 6 or 7 years ago. And they were going to check on some wildlife, and the reporter says, "Does anything scare you?" Or one of the kids said, "Does anything scare you, Barack Obama?"
Kids asked me, they said, "You've got to ask the president, does anything scare him?"
You know, well, when Michelle's mad.
You know what my kids asked me? They said, "You've got to ask the president, does anything scare him?"
You know, well, when Michelle's mad.
Was he going to say my Michael, or is that just me? Was he going to say my Michael, or then Michelle?
Kids asked me, they said, "You've got to ask the president, does anything scare him?"
You know, well, when Michelle's mad.
You know what my kids asked me? They said, "You've got to ask the president, does anything scare him?"
You know, well, when Michelle's mad.
Yeah. We know. I bet it would scare me too if I had to have that thing in the same room. But anyway, what was I seeing? Some up here, trying to keep up a little bit. So they're going to be trying to put some stuff on us and panic everybody, and they think they're going to neutralize Trump, and then they're going to make. Let's see if they can do this. They can make the majority of Americans say, "Oh, it's okay that Barack is gay. Oh, it's okay that Michelle is, let's say, masculine, and Donald Trump is in prison." So, and now we get hit with some kind of disease spread by mosquitoes or some kind of alien invasion, and they'll just keep going like they've been going. I don't think that's going to happen. You know, something I meant to mention last night was that Wiccan we were all making fun of was the jury foreperson for this last indictment. And somebody put a video together here and put Joe's face on this thing. Let me play it for you.
Hear from the former president. Honestly, I kind of wanted to subpoena the former president because I got to swear everybody in. And so I thought it'd be really cool to get 60 seconds with President Trump of me looking at him and being like, "Do you solemnly swear?" And me getting to swear him in. I kind of thought that would be awesome. So
they're getting pretty good at this stuff. I guess they call it AI, but anyway, so this is a reminder. Well, I'll put up a reminder of how many times they have done exactly what they're accusing Mr. T of. But here is truth Mr. T put out. Now that we can talk about this stuff on Utizzle, supposedly, Donald J. Trump reposted this from the Gateway Pundit. Engineers discover a nationwide cellular network connects election equipment and gives government access. Report via Joe Hoff, guest post by David and Aaron Clements. A growing majority of Americans know the 2020 election was fraudulent. I think it was Rasmussen's report said a couple of days ago, the number was sitting at 52%. And, that's people they were interviewing the week prior. So now with this business of Fannie 2x4 and stuff like what I just put on the screen, that number is going to increase exponentially. Here's something with Fannie in it right here. Let me see. DJT put it up. The Federalist. Now, how are these judges going to stop him from reposting other publications? They can't. How dumb is Georgia case? Trump indicted for tweeting to watch TV. I've got that somewhere in my studio. I'll show it to you in a minute. Prosecutor in Georgia has become Democrats' latest instrument of election interference, unveiling more indictments against Donald Trump. They actually have it in their numbered indictments. Let me see. Don Jr. put up a pretty good, let me see if I can find it. A pretty good post concerning that. I'll come across it. Where, here it is, right here. This is from Libs of TikTok. Things that are apparently illegal in America. 1, tweeting that you're watching TV. 2, reserving rooms for meetings. 3, asking someone for a phone number. Act 22. On or about the 3rd day of December, Donald John Rabah caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account @RealDonaldTrump. Georgia hearings now on OANN. Amazing. This was an overt act of furthering the conspiracy because he tweeted out Georgia hearings on OANN. Amazing. Oh, my goodness. Then, on the 11th day of December, he reserved a room. David James Schaefer reserved a room at 216 at the Georgia State Capitol for a meeting of Trump presidential elector nominees in Fulton County. This is an overt act of conspiracy. Act 6. On or about the 21st day of November, Mark Randall Meadows sent a text message to United States Representative Scott Perry and stated, "Can you send me the number for the speaker of the leader of the PA legislature? POTUS wants to chat with them." This was an overt act of furtherance of the conspiracy. He was the chief of staff. You're supposed to get numbers for POTUS. So anyway, Mark Meadows has petitioned to have his case removed to federal jurisdiction. And a lot of people are saying, well, that's probably what's going to happen to the whole thing. The only bad thing about that is the state, the judges already said they would televise the state proceedings. So I don't know how it's going to play. I can't play 5D chess, but this is the actual picture of the foreperson of the jury. I did a video about her. She is a Wiccan witch. She worked at a restaurant and burst into tears because she wasn't allowed to wear a cape when she went to wait on her customers. All kinds of crazy stuff. She does chants and spells and all kinds of crap like that. And here's a story going around about her. Fulton grand juror Coors also spoke, that's the name of this thing we were just looking at, extensively about the witnesses who appeared before the grand jury. she said the late Georgia House Speaker David Ralston cracked her up. She said she swore him in holding a Ninja Turtle popsicle she had just received at an ice cream party thrown by the DA's office. So it's all very bizarre, and anybody paying attention would know that there's something very wrong here. Now, one thing that was wrong, and I pointed out, was that clerk who was wearing an orange dress. And, you know, one thing about these conspiracies, the people that like to do dirty work, they don't like to do real work. And I will have to say that being a clerk in a courthouse is real work. I don't know if you have ever known anybody that's worked at a courthouse or been a clerk of the court. You work your buns off. I mean, you got to keep, there can't be sloppy work. There can't be tardy work. There can't be mistakes. I mean, this is matters of public record, deeds, trials. I mean, it is very serious and very important. So I was thinking the other night, that was filed by the clerk that showed they had already in the bag these charges before the witnesses had even gone through the grand jury. And I thought that was that clerk's way of letting the world know there's something rotten in Denmark. And I know I put too much emphasis on orange clothes and stuff, but they had her come out. I just find it curious. I don't look for it. I just say, hey, there's an orange outfit. But anyway, they had her come out and say, Fulton County clerk who leaked Trump charges said she accidentally hit send instead of save. Alexander said she wanted to get the indictment to the public as soon as possible, and that's how the mishap happened. Well, Kash Patel was right when he said Fani Willis, she has ultimate responsibility for it. I put that video up where she denied that she knew how the process worked at the clerk of the county's office. Those things are supposed to be confidential until they're done, until they're signed by all the grand jury members and the foreperson. There were witnesses still going before the grand jury when these papers were filed, and that shows that somebody let that paperwork out of the secrecy of the grand jury and put it in the hands of his clerk. And I don't think she made a mistake, because that is one that shows there were crimes committed by leaking, illegal leaks, number one. Number two, whenever they filed these charges, that is when the nail is in the coffin that the crime has been committed. When it is recorded in the courthouse, all that testimony, all the paperwork, everything for that grand jury is now accessible. So, you never know who is working for a white hat. So, speaking of sealed indictments, you guys remember this creature? John Podesta. This goes back to the Hawaii stuff we were talking about. John Podesta blames climate change for Maui fire, touts Inflation Reduction Act as solution. So he blamed climate change for the Maui wildfire. Well, if you all will remember, when DJT won the presidency, the Podesta group was the largest lobbying group in Washington, D.C., the most well-known, just a big operation. Within weeks of the election, where Hillary lost, the Podesta group shut their doors and beat feet out of Washington. It was stunning. It was unbelievable. Him and his brother. So this is a Breitbart article, by the way, folks, if you want to look it up yourself. So anyway, and plus we heard on the 17th letter that he's got some indictments waiting for him already, sealed. And whenever they're going to unseal them, we'll see. So let's see. Outlandish, how you doing? What the climate change into its D3W? I don't understand that. Yeah, honey, face of nightmares, I'm sure, for many little ones. We know about him. Oh, Localas 333. The judge has very limited experience, you say. Is that the one we said looked like Herman Munster with a bad case of AIDS? That's right, honey. I think it's going to get thrown out. It's in the wrong venue. They violated his due process. It's full of holes. But you know what? I was thinking about something, folks. Just think of it for the impatient people in the crowd. If we had done something in 2020 or 2021, can you imagine? First of all, we wouldn't know half the players in the game. We wouldn't know half of them. We're getting to see all of them now. We wouldn't know half of the crimes that have been committed. They'd never get exposed without going through this process. But I'll put this little funny meme up while you are listening to me. Ha ha ha. Imagine we've got less than half of them. They arrest them, like all the people who wanted action right away, kind of a knee-jerk, arrest everybody and put Trump in. We know what would be happening in the streets. We know we'd never get the country back together again, but we'd only have half the creepos, none of the media. They would still be 100% in the hands of the enemy. And then we would be dealing with trying to charge people. They would lawyer up with a bunch of crooked lawyers. We'd have all those crooked judges in place, and they would not talk. They would take the Fifth Amendment and sit in a chair like a cigar store Indian, and we'd have all this upheaval, civil unrest, media twisting things around, and the ones we arrested, like I said, sitting there like a cigar store Indian, not saying a word. Guess what? They go into these grand juries. They give testimony. They expose their friends. They think they're attacking Trump. They're coming out of the bushes with their swords, waving them around. Well, it's on the record. You can't take the Fifth now because you've done spilt the beans. And some people that are participating in this conspiracy to further hobble Trump and interfere with the election, I guarantee you they're going to get a visit, a nice, polite visit. And here's what we're concerned about, that you should be concerned about also. Right here, all this stuff that you did right here. What do you think we should do about that? Who are you? I'm somebody that's trying to help you. Help me help you. Now, who told you to do this? Who told you to do that? I didn't do anything. Yes, you did. You said right here you did. So that's when you start getting people singing a song. And yes, it had to be this way. We are drawing them out, and they're telling on themselves. Some of these things go to trial. They will be on trial themselves. They just, if they don't realize it by now, they will. A lot of them don't realize it. They think they're doing a great job, and they are arrogant by nature, like the pot telling the potter, "You don't know what you're doing. You don't know how you look at how you. Let me give you advice on how to make me." So arrogance is part of their MO. And at some point, it's going to hit them between the eyes. That, hey, we've been played. Now, here's something that I saw today that relates to a post I've had sitting in the file here about Target. Well, I can't find the old post. Maybe I can, but their shareholders are suing. There's here it is, a big lawsuit. America First Legal files shareholder lawsuit against Target in federal court. Lawsuit follows Target's disastrous marketing of QUEER trans propaganda to children. So there's a huge lawsuit going to hit them between the eyes. I've had this in the studio for about a week. Well, what comes out today? Let me see if I can find that. Here we go. Target. That's French. Just be you and feel the love. Breaking. Target reports first sales slump in 6 years. Slashes projections. Admits negative reaction to Pride Month. The company continues to have trouble convincing its shoppers to purchase more than the essentials. So, taking lawfare and throwing it right back in their face. Okay. Oh, I want to thank Debbie Webby. I haven't seen her in, but she stopped by to buy me a coffee last night, and I appreciate that. Debbie, if you listen later, every time. So this is creator supported channel only. I got a buy me coffee link in the description if anybody cares to help out, and I appreciate everybody that's helped me out. I saw of you in the chat, so if I missed anybody, of course, Gary does more than enough. I appreciate it, Gary, and Lone Wolf and Jax has helped out. I appreciate it. Let's see. Lone Wolf. Nikki helped me out last week. Cameraman's helped out. And I want to make sure I give everybody that's present. But I can only go so far in the chats. I'm not sure who all's here. And hi, Ken. How are you doing? Nice to meet you. That's about as far as I can go back. So anyway, hi, Richard. How are you doing? Anyway, so I wonder how my I had that hidden behind my buy me a coffee. The fool has said there is no God. So that's their arrogance right there. Their foolishness. Now I got to get way back up where I was in the studio because I had that buried down there. I had stuff on Lizzo. Here's one that I haven't had a chance to show you guys because it's a little bit of a lengthy thing, and I always go on it. Let's make her famous instead of all the P3DOs in Hollywood. So if you want to get a screenshot of that, I can read it without expanding it. I'll just leave it like it is. Sheila Frederick, a flight attendant for Alaska Airlines, was doing her daily job when she noticed a terrified and disheveled girl sitting next to an old man who was dressed nicely. Frederick knew something was not right. So while serving, she whispered in the girl's ear to go to the bathroom, where she left a note asking if she is okay. The girl responded with, "I need help." Frederick alerted the pilot, and eventually police was waiting at the terminal after the plane landed, and the girl was saved from a human trafficker. So, head on a swivel. It's more prevalent than people realize, and hopefully we'll have that sequel coming out concerning Haiti from the ones who did Sound of Freedom. And if we have news reports being more forthright with how just how bad this trafficking is, it will increase awareness. So I had some, here we go. This is what they're starting to put out. The Pillow Man had a summit today, and I watched some of it, where they're showing per state their scores of how they're trying to change their laws in their states to protect the elections, right? Excuse me while I have a sip of my coffee. So here, though,